I've never been moved by something like this so profoundly.
It was just a wonderful performance.
And it definitely left an impact on myself and on a lot of my non-Indigenous friends as well.
It's an incredible privilege to be able to be in this space and to witness it.
I'm Linda Pierce, and I'm a sackbut performer, so I play the early form of the trombone known as the Baroque trombone or the sackbut. I also direct the ensemble Sakabuche, and with Sakabuche we do programs of music only, and we also do intercultural programs that involve script and text and soundscapes and all kinds of wonderful things. I'd been living here for 7 years and had never done a project that was really tied to this land, to this region. And so the idea came up, well, why don't we try to collaborate with different people who are from New Brunswick? So I think there are probably 3 phases. There was an initial phase where, leading up to the workshop, I did a lot of reading and a lot of chatting. So we asked Joel Miller, who was born in Sackville, a jazz composer, to come, and I did a little research and found some friends who recommended friends of theirs who recommended friends of theirs, and that brought me to meet Angela Acquin, who came with Hubert Francis.
The original project was a weekend of sharing sacred music. And I was actually third in the list to participate, and the first 2 had to drop out, so I was able to come.
I was contacted by Linda Pierce. It was initially another project that she had last year pertaining to traditional chants and how it could be worked into the classical music that they do. Then the subject of the reconciliation and residential schools kind of came out of a story of one of our cast members on this project.
At the workshop, that's when something that we call the moment happened. I had asked the permission of both Hubert Francis and Vicky St. Pierre to have them participate in a kind of experiment. And Hubert sang his Mi'kmaw honor song, and Vicky St. Pierre sang the Ubi Caritas Gregorian chant.
It was so beautiful. There were no other instruments, and it was beautiful. And there was no talk about residential schools at that time. And then all of a sudden I broke down, like just totally lost it and was bawling. And they finished the piece, and then somebody said, like, what's going on? I keep thinking about my great aunt. She died at residential school in Shubenacadie, and her body was never found. And my grandmother held that, because it was her responsibility to look after her sister at resi school, right? So she held that her entire life. Everybody took the time to stop and listen, even though the weekend wasn't about that. They took the time to stop and listen to the truth that I had in me. How can something so beautiful, such as hymns, be something that harmed my people so much? And putting that together made me think about, like, putting the Indian child into the school. That wasn't beautiful. But putting that music with our music was beautiful.
We can work something about the residential schools into the text.
Yeah. And we should.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we came out of the workshop and just talked amongst ourselves and decided, well, there's something here that we should explore, and Angie was excited to do that.
what we're doing with the music, both the Baroque music and the honor songs and the song Hubert is doing, is we're providing beauty and the possibility of healing. And so it seems to me that the juxtaposition of really, really hard stories and really incredible beauty is really important.
Linda gave me a lot of leeway through this project where we were co-collaborating, which was a beautiful experience for me. She just asked me to start writing because I'm not a technical person. So I just started writing what was in my heart. And for the most part, that's exactly what came out on the paper. Her loving memories of her sister, memories of a different chapter. This is where her spirit lies.
And our second phase was planning a rehearsal and recording session in May of 2018.
We are going to try to create soundscapes for different...
I didn't feel comfortable performing the work at that point. I didn't feel like I had the know-how, and I didn't feel like our team had a good sense about what is it going to mean when we say these things together. What is it going to mean? How are we supposed to stand on stage? How do we, we have more non-Indigenous than Indigenous musicians. So how do we balance that? What's that going to look like on stage? So we had too many questions that we didn't have answers for, so we just inhibited the desire to perform it. We edited the text a little bit, we tightened things up, and now we come into our third phase, which we're really happy to launch this week of performances.
I think we should just play it through, and whatever happens, happens, and it's new for a lot of people, and that's fine.
I think it's actually going quite well, surprisingly well. And we're trying to do some difficult things. I think we've had a couple of workshops on the show in the past, but we have new performers. We had some sudden emergencies with families and things like that, with some health issues, so our usual string players are not here. These are people who are playing with us for the first time, but it is going extremely well. I'm always stunned by how rapidly good musicians can learn music.
Changes in ensemble are always challenging, especially in a project like this. But I don't know, the people we brought in were so committed to its concept. They just leapt in, and they've given their all.
For us, the new ones, it was very tough at the beginning for the content. We know what happened and you read it, but it's not until you hear a story from someone which this story belongs to, that you actually can see the whole picture and understand.
It's been a whirlwind, really, because we have a lot to do in a short amount of time. The subject matter, of course, for me, coming into it is overwhelming, not only from our putting the show together point of view, but because the subject matter is so emotionally jarring.
In the years to come, Graham lost custody of all of her children. She sold her status rights for $25. She left Canada, and out of 7 children, only our dad remained in the community. She did not know how to parent. She had never been taught. Graham had a lifelong struggle with trying to hide her pain. Too many times, she tried to find comfort at the bottom of a bottle.
We're all wearing orange shirts today to honor the children who were sent to residential schools, and especially to honor those who didn't come home.
Her mouth has been sewn shut. The songs on their long flight, years upon years, birth upon death, lost.
I think everybody's very moved by the project. I think what is really interesting about it is that, of course, we're performing because we want to tell Angie's story, her truth to others, so that they may, reconfigure how they think about this subject and sort of experience this subject in different terms, in musical terms, which do different things for people. I think they open people up within the ensemble, within the group. It's a much more intense type of cultural exchange because we form relationships. And in large part that's facilitated by Angie and Hubert, my wonderful collaborators who are leading smudge ceremonies, are having sharing circles, and are sort of nurturing us all. They're creating a space in which we can all communicate respectfully with another.
So I'd asked for the group to be able to do a talking circle and ceremony, and to do some teachings about my culture. People who are here before know that I always close with hugging. It's the heart to heart, which is what we're doing. We're exposing our hearts to each other. We've got to trust each other and believe in each other and give each other that encouragement to be able to go through this process together. And that comes from the heart, not from the mind. It comes from the heart.
You're a good hugger, too.
I wanted people to know that we need to create space for each other. I like the balance of Indigenous and our settlers, as we've come to call them through this process. So bringing them all together and bonding them made it a totally different experience. I think it took away that different language, and everybody started speaking the same language, of understanding.
I'm excited about the rest of the week. Of course, going to perform at schools, high schools in New Brunswick is really exciting.
I'm very happy that we are bringing this to schools because the purpose is to educate. And we need that. We need children and we need people to know what happened. So then we don't forget, so we don't repeat as well.
Putting that together for the schools that we're doing this week is going to be a big challenge, but I think it'll be really for the children something that they've never experienced before.
We'll be performing at Leo Hayes High School, which neighbors on St. Mary's Reserve in Fredericton, and there we'll perform for 2 concerts, each for 800 students, so for over 1,600 students. Now, Jade, after we do the ba, we're going to be sitting down. The whispers? Yes. The school's concert probably has the potential for the greatest impact, because you're sort of connecting with people when they're young, when their conceptions of the world, their ideas about history and where they come from, those are being formed. So meeting them there at that point in their life, I think has a deep value for the rest of us on the team and for the whole project.
You're going to hear and see and be part of what is called How Do We Listen? Sit back, pay attention, you're going to be amazed.
Graham took a vow to always care for and protect her younger sister, Doris. Doris drowned at the pond at the school. Graham carried that guilt with her for the duration of her life. She was told that her sister's body was returned to her home community. However, we have never been able to find the records. Graham had a lifelong struggle with trying to hide from her pain. Too many times, she tried to find peace at the bottom of a bottle.
130 residential schools were located across Canada, with the last one closing in 1996. The policy behind the government-funded, church-run schools attempted to kill the Indian in the child.
It was very moving. I found that someone like that came from my community, and they were like courageous enough to like sit and talk in front of a school about their story of their grandmother. Just moving, I guess.
Yeah, I learned some stuff about the residential schools I never knew before. Pretty interesting, actually, in my opinion.
I feel like people think that this happened far away, but it actually affected all of us here. So it's not just people far away actually happened here. This isn't just something that happened like to my great-grandparents and stuff that has actually affected me and stuff.
A lot of non-Indigenous people are used to going to venues and consuming classical music. You know, they've got all their habits with them of what music is and how they're going to enjoy it, and we're sort of catching them off guard. The Brunton Auditorium is in a university setting, and they're hopefully going to feel comfortable coming, and then they're also going to have that opportunity to experience something new and unexpected. The motivation right now is enjoying seeing Angie own this, you know, up on stage telling her truth. That's a huge motivation to see this go forward.
This week's been a magical week, seeing everybody finally coming together. The new energy that's been brought, I think, has actually enhanced it, because we've gotten those raw emotions brought back to the forefront that were there in the beginning, and our hearts are all still in the right place. But because we've already been through the script so much, and because we've been through the experience together, we were all very comfortable. So the new people have added that dynamic.
One of the suggestions made by a grant reviewer was that we should consult and with our elders and identify Shubenacadie IRS survivor, if possible, who could speak before the project. And I floated that to the group a couple of months ago, and they all said, yes, of course we should. So they decided that Doreen Bernard, we should ask her to come, and she said yes. So she's coming tonight, and she's going to talk about the IRS system and about her experiences. And I think that's, it's a gift to us, really.
The truth of our history must be a part of Canada and taught, because it's been excluded for many generations who did not know about our shared history. So I think it's very important that you are here, and I thank you for coming tonight and hearing a little bit about who we are, where we come from. Lalio.
We acknowledge, honor, and pay respect to the traditional custodians from all four directions of the land on which we gather. We join together on the unceded ancestral lands of the Mi'kmaw Nation and our brothers and sisters, the Wolastoqiyik peoples. Wilaliok.
We're using music here because it's more people can relate to music, and we're using indigenous music and classical music and putting it together making a special medicine that'll feed everyone.
On February 1st, 1842, a delegation of Mi'kmaw from New Brunswick went to London to petition the Queen to protest encroachments on their land. Their names are Joseph Itobèche, François Lebob, and Pierre Basquet. It is an incredibly moving story, and it's a story that ends up meaning something to me personally as an Irish American whose family did lose its language, whose national consciousness was bound up in conflicted ways with Catholicism. So I think all of us, regardless of our background, can find something meaningful in this history.
Hopefully it opens some minds and some ears when we play it in front of settler audiences, and hopefully when we play it for Indigenous people we can make them realize that some people want to listen and are trying to start in a very imperfect manner listening and helping them, but maybe it can give them hope that finally we will be listening to the stories they've been trying to tell us for centuries.
How and why do I play the violin, and how am I contributing to anything in the world? But being here and knowing about residential schools and trying to find reconciliation through music, it's so meaningful to me.
Time is a story, a season. Stories tell truths if we only listen. I think that because they regard this as having the potential to heal, I regard it as having the potential to heal. And I can't tell you how much it moves me that I participated in the writing of something that may have that potential.
I think music will show us that, yeah, we could work together, we could live together, we could share the same stage, with other cultures and find healing, find understanding, find education. I think basically that's music is medicine.
So gently, I offer my hand and ask, let me find my talk so I can teach you about me.
So I can learn about you, I listen.
Teach me how to listen.
In terms of going forward, this project needs to be told to our society. Particularly, I think we're going to have a great impact with students. So I would like to see the project toured to schools on Mi'kmaw and Wolastoqiyik lands. And retell a history that has been told from perhaps a very limited perspective, and retell it from different perspectives.
When Gram was nearing the end of her life, she made the decision to put down the bottle and return to her community. Her desire was to be laid to rest near where her sister was last reported to be. She wanted to speak the little language she had left. That was all she had of the past. Her friends weren't the same. Many had passed. Her community had grown beyond recognition, and many did not remember her. Her loving memories of her sister, memories of a different chapter. This is where her spirit lies. All my relations. Thank you. Thank you very much. This has been a wonderful experience for us to have. As Doreen was saying in the beginning about reconciliation, and that's what this is. This is the Indigenous, the non-Indigenous gathering together to share, to create space for each other. It's not about assimilation. It's about creating space.